Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to every single fucking dungeon in Final Fantasy XIII. I'm sorry, I've been waiting a week to make that joke. Okay.
It's the hall. Well, no, this isn't a hallway. This is a subway track.
Oh yeah, and there was an entire dungeon that was basically just this. Like right before you get to the open world, it takes like 4 hours to get through, and it's all just train tunnels broken up by the occasional linear not train tunnel, but mostly train tunnels, as I recall. I might be misremembering that. I hated that dungeon.
4 hours of this. At least we get done with this in like half an hour.
But this is also before, I think, like the weakest part of the game, though.
Well,
Yeah.
This particular part, this train tunnel before the boss is a bit bland. But to be fair, it was a train tunnel in the original game too. There kind of wasn't much you could do with it.
It wasn't. It's not hard to be better than the train tunnel in the original 7, though.
Yeah. So at the very least, this is a remake of something that was already in the base game. So you kind of have to put it there in some regard.
Yeah.
The original game's train tunnel didn't get really annoying until the revisit at the end of Disc 2, where you actually had to explore the train tunnel, and there was a reason to do so, so you had to do it. If you were being completionist, that was annoying. But like,
You say completionist, that just means of breaking the game. You mean?
well, you also had to do it to get to Shinra Tower if you wanted Kate's ultimate weapon.
Well, not if you go backwards.
But
you went backwards because you wanted that W item material.
oh yes, that too. But in the original game, the first train tunnel sequence was either long and boring or short and sweet, depending on how well you did on the train before you got there. If you managed to make it to the end of the train without getting locked into a train car, then you got dropped off like right at the end of the train tracks, and it was just a matter of going in the direction that Cloud told you to go instead of going backwards for 2 hours. The train tunnel did end if you went backwards far enough, but it just ended at an impassable security gate with an infinitely respawning
It's already
enemy
dead.
there.
Yeah, it was my go-to spot for grinding, like during my earlier playthroughs of the game.
Why
Back
did
when
you grinded in Final Fantasy VII?
back then, like my first playthroughs of 7, I was still very much like in Final Fantasy IV and 6 mentality, where big number good.
Yeah.
I like
You
big
grinded
number.
in Final Fantasy IV, 4 or 6.
Big number good. If number big, me hit big.
Depending on what you want to do in 6, you might need to do a tiny bit of grinding, but
Oh yeah, if you want to get the stupid shield thing, you can walk back and forth for like 3 hours. Yeah, I can get that.
It's 250 battle.
If you were being
per
completionist
shield
and decided you wanted everyone to learn every spell like I did, you probably did a fair bit of grinding.
You never need the paladin shield for anything. Don't bother going for it. It's a really stupid thing. in Final Fantasy.
What happened to me was I was playing that on the Wii Virtual Console, and
Okay.
and what ended up happening was my brother. I didn't save and quit. I did the suspend thing in order to, like, it would save your progress on SNES and NES games if you did that, but only if you specifically turned the game off by going to the Wii menu. My brother just turned the Wii off, and I think I lost like 100 and something battles with that stupid shield. So, yeah, no, I said fuck that.
My shield is still cursed. Now I curse you.
For the record, you might see the
Doesn't
train
happen.
rushing by every now and then. That is entirely scripted and will never happen while you're actually on the tracks, so don't worry about
Oh,
it.
okay. I did not risk that. So
It only ever seems to happen when you're like well out of the way. Thankfully,
it'll be like a hazard that you can lure enemies
yeah.
into.
Thankfully, this is not a Resident Evil 6 situation. God damn, but that game loved to blindside you with heavy instant kill vehicle collisions.
All right, so I don't remember that part of Resident Evil 6. Was the train a Ganado?
No, it was a literal train. It was you had to go through some subway tunnels as Leon and Helena at one point. And then after you got back to the surface, the game blindsided you with a bus. That was fun. I do actually like Resident Evil 6, but it's got some very rough design.
You're probably the only person I know who likes that game. Just out of, because most
I don't know.
of the
Do
time,
people hate it?
I don't think people like it.
Oh, okay. 'Cause
Well, occasionally you'll see someone do a video on YouTube defending it. Notably, both Hayden and Gaming Brit have done videos about Resident Evil 6 just being a really good, stupid action game. And it is a really good, stupid action game. A really good, stupid action game that has really rough design in places.
do I hear a point of contention, Ryan?
There are much better stupid action games that do a lot of its ideas way better, so I still don't think there's any reason to actually play 6.
But I prefer Resident Evil 6 because all those other stupid action games have characters I don't give a shit about, so
Well, maybe you would give a shit about them if you played those.
No, I really don't think I would care much for Gears of War even if I had played it. I'm sorry, but nothing that I've seen, heard, or even absorbed via pop culture osmosis has given me the impression that I'll ever like that series.
There are just some games or series that's like, I just don't see the appeal.
Yeah.
But not enough to like make you want to at least give it a shot. Do you guys like have those kind of like you already mentioned Gears of War?
Pretty much anything that Naughty Dog has ever made for me, I do not get the appeal in. Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, Last of Us, none of them do not get the appeal at all.
To me, it's Shin Megami Tensei. Like,
I absolutely understand not getting the appeal of Shin Megami Tensei.
I should stress Shin Megami Tensei specifically because there is some interest in Persona, like later Persona, not early. I've experienced early Persona.
Well, that's because early Persona is much more like Shin Megami Tensei.
It is, yes.
Well, that would explain it.
Yeah.
But Shin Megami Tensei, I just no interest. Like maybe one day, like for a review, but it's gonna be very obligatory.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you because Shin Megami Tensei is about as niche as it gets. So anybody who's there's also the problem, and I feel like a lot of fan bases, especially when it gets really niche, get like this. There's this really elitist bent to it where it's like, oh, you don't like our game because it's too hard and good for you. You go play your weeb Persona. Don't be like that. Don't be that guy. Don't. Because
man.
What's the worst? Do you want people to like the games you play? Do you want to make more friends? I assume that you would if you're oh god.
Yeah, that happened with Fire Emblem a little bit.
That did happen.
It's like
yes.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I don't have a problem with casual mode because that's just a time saver in a lot of regards. I can understand hating Phoenix mode in face though, because that's just like we're just not going to force you to. We're just going to let you not play the game.
A lot of RPGs now have a super easy mode below easy mode that's just called story mode, where you can just blitz through the game without a care and just experience the story. And I'm okay with that. It's not like the game is holding a gun to my head and forcing me to play it, which is a good segue into one of the things that I think was handled really poorly in this game, the classic mode. It's literally locked into easy mode because the game was not designed with automatic turn-based gameplay in mind, but they had to include it to appease the turn-based fans. So,
Which is funny because the one thing that it's not even the matter of the game being locked to easy mode while classic mode is on. The thing that keeps throwing me off is that characters automatically move, and it's one of those. I know it sounds so bizarre, but I'd rather the characters not move at all and just make it like the way it originally was. If you are so adamant on just making it nothing but like the ATB actions and have the auto attacks be done by the player themselves, just have them stand still.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They would have to completely redesign the game around that if they did do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they effectively would have to make the battle system twice. Rebalance every encounter. It seems not worth it.
Yeah, so in classic mode, as soon as battles start, your characters start automatically moving around. Basically, even the character you're manually controlling spends their time on the same AI script that they would be using if they aren't manually controlled. You can move them. You can take control of them manually pretty much whenever you want. But basically the moment you let them sit for more than 1.2 seconds, they start automatically moving again. It's jarring. It's almost as jarring as Final Fantasy XV's weight system, but nothing on...
Do you not know about multi-use?
Wait, are you calling Noctis fat?
No, I know about multi-use. The thing is, I don't like using it because I always end up accidentally using one more potion than I intend to. So, I just sort of developed a habit.
I didn't
of
know
not-
about multi-use until like 10 hours in because the text for it is so tiny, like on the
Yeah, and
menu
the game
itself.
doesn't really tell you about it.
Oh, wait, is there a spider boss coming?
No.
Sort of.
There are enemies that use spider webs.
There's a giant
Yeah,
robot
but-
boss shaped like a
Yeah.
spider-ish
Crab.
thing coming. Oh, it's more of a crab. Yeah, you're right. But basically, this section is an introduction to just a little bit of character development, I guess, for Shinra as a company. They're so uncaring for, the structural integrity of their city, I guess, that they don't bother clearing out the goddamn monsters that keep roosting up in their plates. So that's the reason that there are monsters up in the plates in Midgar when you go there in the original game. They provided some context for what was just a really random set of random encounters for those 1 or 2 screens that you went through on the way to the second reactor.
Incorporating the video gamey elements into the lore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's actually something that you would expect a good DM to do if you were playing a tabletop game.
I was hoping for an animation at this point where instead of just pulling the web off, Cloud just pulls off his buzzer sword and starts using it as a big knife to cut it off or something.
Yeah,
Well,
like a
you
machete.
can't really cut spider web is the problem.
Yeah.
Like, spider web is really, like, sticky and thick, especially if it's that big.
It's also
so-
deceptively durable. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, it's like spiderweb and human hair, if they are proportionately stronger than steel for their size. So, yeah. And which is
So
why...
what you're saying is we need to make all of our buildings out of hair.
And spider webs.
Well,
Deki Kamiya would like to know your location.
if we could figure out a way to stop the webs in the hair from decomposing, sure.
Or just lean into it, like Peter Parker does.
But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, it's something that you would expect a DM in a tabletop game to do, to either explain or at least have in mind some kind of context for what monsters are where within the campaign. So a lot of the time what you'll see in this remake is that, there's a certain logic to why monsters appear in certain locations, even if it's not explicitly explained. It does, like, for example, the Hell House. It's not just some random monster you run into in the slums anymore. It's actually a mechanical monstrosity that's being intentionally kept in Don Corneo's Coliseum. So, they basically attached it to a story concept that was already there. Don Corneo's tendency to keep vicious freaks of nature as pets for some reason. Now, I wonder what they're going to do to explain how he got that dragon to Wutai. But, yeah. Well, there isn't a spider-based boss, but there is this insectoid elite mob, I guess you could call it. This is a pain in the ass to kill, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a mini boss.
Not really a mini-boss, just a large random enemy. There are quite a few of these scattered throughout the game. Because, well, it's an action game now, so rather than being about random encounters where the enemies go down really quick, it's more about smaller, more curated encounters that take longer individually to take down, which is another thing that you'd see in something like a BioWare game, really. It leans more heavily into that than something like Kingdom Hearts would, actually. In Kingdom Hearts, a lot of the encounters are against Grunt Heartless, and a lot of them go down pretty fast. You do have a certain number of enemies in this game that go down pretty fast, but as you go through the game, you'll find that more and more of the areas are more filled with enemies that take a lot of doing to get the HP down, So you have to really pay attention to those stagger bars if you want to get through areas efficiently.
Some very existential graffiti I just noticed on the wall. Like, what are you doing here? What am I doing here?
Wait, where?
That's a good question, Red. Why are we here?
The graffiti on the left side of the wall with the cat. staring at the bird. There's text next to it that says, "What are you doing here?"
I love graffiti in video games. There's so many good gags for specific graffiti in games. Like one of my favorite examples is in Streets of Rage 4. There's just a random piece of graffiti in the sewers that says Galcia was here, which I just think is really funny because Galcia is the name of the guy who has the knife and just tries to stab you by running into you. And it's like, oh man.
Graffiti in video games is one of the most interesting and unrealistic things that I've ever seen. Because, graffiti in real life, there's really only two types. There's the really elaborate street art, done by people who really want to express themselves and can't just do it on a goddamn canvas for some reason. And then there's...
The wall is their canvas.
And then there's people who just scribble dicks and profanity on walls.
Or their gang name or whatever it is.
Well, yeah. But
their pen name is Dicks.
The point is, there's people who really should just get a DeviantArt account, goddammit, and then there's people who are just goddamn boring.
Oh yeah, there are people that use the DeviantArt account to produce the layout, and then they put it on the wall.
In any case, now that we're
I don't buy your art.
Now that we're past the monsters that have been gathering up here, we're fighting the lazy assholes who were supposed to be killing them in the first place. Right before you got to these guys, you overhear their conversation, how they're just gonna do like a lazy pass-through and call it a day.
Hey man, they should be grateful. You just did their work for them.
These guys deserve what they got.
And their pay.
Well, their pay is going into their medical bills now. Because Shinra doesn't cover that shit. Come on.
Shinra doesn't even have dental.
Dental plan. Tifa needs braces. Dental plan.
I mean, when you think about it, Shinra basically rules the planet in Final Fantasy VII. So, who's holding them to account to make sure that they give their employees proper benefits? Fucking no one.
This is why we should unionize Midgar.
No, they'll just close down Midgar and open a new Midgar two blocks
Next
to the
day.
right.
Hey, has anyone ever seen Ted?
So, President Rufus, why did you decide to make a new Midgar 5 feet away from the original? Money!
It's outside of districting zones.
Man, I'll never forget my first day working at Walmart, where there was a training video about how evil unions were.
Yeah, all the retail stores do that nowadays, and it's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, there's a image from, I think it's Delta, where it says, like, don't join a union. You can use those union wages to buy video games. And then one of my favorite memes and responses, aw, workers' rights, but I wanted to buy video games. Workers' rights.
Workers' rights can buy you many video games. Explain. Union dues to guarantee higher wages and standards of living. Aha.
Man. That almost sounds too zany to be real.
It was real.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have to think about it. I know. I have that little faith in humanity. On that subject, Heidegger's here. Hi, Heidegger. How you doing?
Nice segue.
So, we're gonna see...
Hi, Waka.
We get to see a lot of Heidegger during this sequence, which is interesting because Heidegger wasn't involved at all in the second, in the second reactor mission. Like, the only person that you ever spoke to was President Shinra during that point. But Heidegger.
Well, usually Heidegger, you throw a blitzball at all your enemies. So.
But of course, Heidegger over here is in charge of military stuff for Shinra. What was it? Heidegger was in charge.
He was in charge of weapons development.
No, I'm pretty sure Scarlet was in charge of weapons development.
Heidegger's in charge of security.
Yeah.
Was there?
And I believe he was also a war.
I keep thinking of their joint forces by the end of the game, where they ride the Parade Clod. So I always figured they were just both in the same department.
I also believe it's explained that he's something of a war buddy with President Shinra.
I don't think it was explained in the original game, but it might have popped up in supplementary material at some point.
Maybe.
It explains the scar, anyway. But,
maybe like a battle of Wu-Tai.
Scarlet appeared at the reactor outside Zack's hometown, where, where she was looking for materia and she just turned her nose up at a perfectly good summoning materia because it wasn't big and huge enough.
No.
The balls weren't big enough for her.
Well,
It was funny because it summons a giant man that I'm pretty sure had a nice set of balls,
I mean,
big enough.
it's not even a very good summoning materia, so I guess I can understand that. I don't remember very many monsters being weak to earth, which is probably why that element sort of fell off the face of the earth over subsequent Final Fantasy games, now that I think about it.
Earth is always one of the more lame elements in RPGs. The only one where I can think of where it's like legitimately one of the best ones is Pokemon, where ground is just weak to a billion different. I'm sorry, good against a billion different types.
Also, Golden Sun.
Oh, okay. I've never played Golden Sun.
Well,
I'll
in
do that
Pokemon,
someday.
Earth is actually divided up into two elements. There's ground and then there's rock. So, it's a bit special there.
Yeah, but rock is also just way worse. Okay, no, I shouldn't say it's just way worse because it has. Oh, what's the name of that stupid move? The one that stealth rock. There we go. I hate that move. It's bullshit.
Rock isn't stupid effective, but it does have
It's
that.
situational.
It does have that helpful immunity to electric attacks. So
No, that's ground.
rock is also immune to electric attacks.
No, it's not.
No, you watch
No.
too much of the anime. We
Yeah.
can.
The anime
Only
is the
rock.
one where they bullshit their way past the immunity to electricity.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
no,
but
ground is
rock,
immune.
Onyx is rock type. Ground.
There's
can
an
be hit by-
episode
No,
of
Onyx
the.
is rock ground.
There's an
Yeah.
episode
Huh.
of the anime with Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is rock flying. Since it is not ground, it is actually super. It takes super effective damage from electric type attacks. But in the
Interesting.
anime, Aerodactyl was like, "Oh no, it's rock type. It can't be hurt by Pikachu." Whereas Pikachu would be a perfectly fine choice. If you
Huh.
were playing. But
it's cool.
the Pokemon anime
Okay.
making mistakes is
Pikachu,
nothing
the
new.
horn.
Like,
The
go through
horn,
examples,
Pikachu, the horn.
Oh wait, now I remember. Rock is strong against flying.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I love throwing birds at pigeons. I love throwing birds at pigeons. All right, whatever the fuck that. Whatever sort of insult that was going through my mind, just noped the fuck out of there before I.
I
even
went
finished that sentence.
stupid
Holy
far
shit.
out of my way to teach my Charizard that one special egg move that it needs to be effective against other flying types. So I think it was against flying types anyway. Or was it against electric types? I don't remember. But it was an egg move, and it took me way too long to get an egg move that I could pass along to it.
Oh, if you want to not like do anything for like a good 4 hours, just run around in circles in Pokemon for breeding chains. So much fun. You know, you gotta make your Skitty and your Wailord, have a good time for a while.
I actually did. It actually didn't take very long at all to do the breeding part of the breeding. It just took me a while to figure out how to get the egg move in the first place. I had an item that actually sped up the hatching process.
Yeah,
So
there's but Pokemon breeding is just not really my favorite. I don't really get the appeal of the running around in circles for 12 hours aspect of Pokemon. It's just not my jam, Just not a huge fan of
I
that
don't
part of
either.
it.
Even when I was working on my EVs, I cheesed it like in the worst possible way. I just used the items that boost the EVs in one particular stat until it maxed out, and then I moved on to the next one.
I'm not a fan of Gen 8. I think, as I've probably said on this before, but I do appreciate that they added a bunch of stuff to specifically take out the busy work of competitive Pokemon. In that, like, I think you can just switch abilities whenever you want now. I think you can switch natures whenever you want now.
Well,
so I appreciate
they
that.
have. It's not whenever you want, but they have means to change it if you get items from like the battle tower and stuff. Which, again, all that stuff is good. The issue I have with that is the only real improvements they made for anything in Gen 8 was the competitive stuff, which will affect maybe 1% of people who ever play the game.
Yeah.
I mean, in some genres, like old school MMOs, that level of dedication you need in order to accomplish anything can add to the experience, but a game as compact and brain dead simple as Pokemon really doesn't have any business trying to do that, to be
No,
honest.
I agree with that there. It's just a matter of all that stuff only particularly matters if you're trying to build up an actually competitive team, which the vast majority of people who play the game are never going to do. So all that stuff's kind of meaningless to them because you can do anything in the game just fine with whatever money you
Well, I
have.
mean, now that the game has online multiplayer that you can just do with the drop of a hat, it does kind of grate when you try to take your team online and realize that you haven't done the 800 hours of busy work necessary to compete with the
Yeah, but
271
you're not gonna,
Tyrannotars you're going to encounter.
yeah,
If
but you're
I'm
gonna lose.
playing-
But you're gonna lose to the hyper competitive. I have max stats, perfect move sets, whatever.
Yeah, assuming they
regardless.
assuming they didn't already hack their mons in the first place.
There are
Yeah.
people
Even then,
who
it's like, if
sell
I'm playing-
hacked Pokemon on the internet, like not even joking.
Yeah.
This is a
Even
legitimate
if I'm
business
playing, if
people
I'm even
have.
considering playing online battles of Pokemon, it's only against my friends, and you guys
Yeah.
are not the
Well,
alcoholics.
the thing is, Sword and Shield had these monthly sort of point tournaments that you could do for bonus items and stuff, so I liked to hop on to those every so often. And
by the propaganda.
it took
sign,
me
by the propaganda. Sign.
it took me a while to work out a strategy with my existing Pokemon team that would allow me to last more than 20 seconds against, again, the 271 Tyrannotars you're inevitably going to encounter. Because everyone loves those Tyrannotars, god damn it.
Well, competitive Pokemon plays much more like a trading card game than like a RPG in a lot of ways because it's not really so much about the specific strategies. Of course, your specific strategies and moves do matter, but in a lot of ways, whatever like
It's
team
about
you're
setup more
building,
than anything.
your setup does dictate a lot of it. Like certain teams are just bad against other certain teams, and you won't have much of a chance.
The difference is that there's not really much of a barrier between the player and getting that grade A team that everyone knows is the bestest. So
Yeah.
everyone has the bestest grade A team, or the bestest other grade A team if they want to throw you for a loop. But you know,
Yeah, it's also not like remotely balanced, which I think is impossible at this point.
Yeah,
Like-
but that was also one of their stupid excuses during the pre-release. It's like, we're not going to have every mon in here because we want to try to balance the game more. It's like, you're never going to make this balanced game, Freak. Why are you trying?
if they were saying that, they really should have left out Tyranitar. Like, seriously.
Yeah, well, I think the closest a Pokemon metagame has been to balanced.
was Gen 3, I believe.
Gen 2 or Gen 3, I would say.
Not Gen
and
2. No, not Gen 2.
Okay, balanced and fun are not the same thing. All right, I'm gonna point that out there. The Gen 2 competitive battles are stally and grindy as fuck. I agree.
Yeah,
But in
yeah.
terms of having like the largest percentage of usable Pokemon, I think it's pretty high up there. I agree that it's not necessarily fun to watch Snorlax v Blissey v Skarmory for 10 hours. I agree with you, but fun and balanced are not the same thing. Like, God, what is it? Rock'em Sock'em Robots is a fairly balanced game, but it's not the most fun because you're just mashing buttons and waiting.
Oh, it's fun for a minute.
Yeah.
Well, like the only legit balanced fighting game will ever exist is if you only have one character and you do Ditto matches the entire time.
So Super Smash Bros. Melee, cool.
No, there are differences between Fox and Falco.
Oh, yeah, you're right. One has
What
a
about
blue
two foxes?
laser and one has a red laser.
Okay, that's enough dunking on Nintendo games.
But you see,
Then why are we here?
it's okay to dunk on Nintendo at this very current moment in time because they haven't had a direct in 6 months. So it's okay to
6
not,
months.
More than 6
Well,
months.
I mean,
a long time.
you know, at this point in time, I can forgive a company for not leaning super hard into the stuff that they're trying to sell people. But, you know,
I mean, it's more so their problem is everything they're releasing now is apparently limited time.
well,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, you see, they
Yeah,
finally
it's
realized
just-
that they were the Disney of video games, and they're trying to lean into that.
I mean, what's the end goal of the limited release?
To
really?
impulse buy. FOMO.
You know, when they released 3D All Stars Limited, my impression was, okay, they're going to release these games as individual purchases later.
Yeah, that's what everybody figures is going to be. With 3D All Stars specifically.
That's what we figured, and then all of a sudden, hey, here's Fire Emblem 1 on NES coming out, and it's a limited time only. It's like, but it's a digital game.
Yeah.
So the thing is that it worked. The limited time release worked because if I remember correctly, Mario 3D All Stars was like the best digital selling game they've ever done, or up there. So if it works, they're gonna keep on doing it. You know?
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, what are they doing with Fire Emblem after the limited release? Are they putting it on Switch Online or something? Is that what their plan is?
That can't be it, because then why would you? That would really piss everyone off who bought it for $6.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it'll be like a bonus that they give whenever Fire Emblem, whatever number they're at right now, comes out. Like Three Houses is like, what, 18? It bothers me that Fire Emblem fans number the remakes, but that's just a semantic thing that I'm...
To be fair, in Fire Emblem's case, everyone who gives a shit about Fire Emblem 1 was going to buy it pretty much the first month anyway. But, like... why?
Honestly, the most meaningful thing that I saw on the internet happen because of Fire Emblem 1 being released was people saying, oh, so you can do it for Mother 3, Nintendo.
They're probably going to do a limited release for Mother 3 now that you said
People were
that.
saying that when they said Earthbound Beginnings was a thing.
Yeah. I was saying probably because...
The Mother 3 is not going to happen until Itoy gets his head out of his ass about a lot of things.
Earthbound Beginnings was a bit of a special case because they already had that translation.
Yeah,
it's been literally sitting on a shelf for like 20 years before they decided to...
Yeah, my personal conspiracy theory is that Nintendo has a translation done. It is sitting somewhere on some metaphorical shelf behind, like, bulletproof glass, and there's a hammer next to it. And the hammer says, break glass in case of emergency. So, if there's ever a point where Nintendo loses so much ill will with fans...
It's the same emergency glass. It's the same emergency glass that Ubisoft used to bring out Scott Pilgrim.
Is the hammer shaped like a robot crab?
More so, I'm of the mind of that text next to the glass says, in case the toy gets his head out of his ass. Because the only reason it hasn't released outside of Japan is because the toy's an asshole about a lot of things.
Maybe. I've heard some...
No, he literally will not let changes be made to the game because, you know how in Japan where you can basically put any copyright stuff in there you want as long as you change like one letter of something?
I did not know that.
He really doesn't want anybody fucking with Mother 3, like specifically.
Yeah, but it's like you can't release Mother 3 unless you like change some of the music or other things that are blatant references to real life things.
Oh, right.
Due to how copyright works, and it's just like, Itoy, your game is still released in Japan. You're just being a dick by not letting other people play it over some really trivial stuff.
Although in Mother 3's case, the music is a bit more important from the programming side because of that rhythm-based bonus attack that you can do.
Oh no, in Japan they get the MIDI version of Johnny Be Good. That's so integral to the plot and characters.
I think it's just rhythm. I think it is just based on the tempo of the song. So as long as theoretically the song is the same tempo, it shouldn't change the gameplay that much, I believe. I mean, granted, I'm no expert in Mother 3, so...
It's just one of those they could if they wanted to. Itoy is just being kind of overly stubborn about a number of things.
I do also remember hearing that there is, like, a lot of stuff where the translation would probably want to be changed because of, like, cultural sensitivities that have altered, like,
now, yes.
What are the name of the guys that are very clearly, like, supposed
to... The Magypsies.
Yeah, like, I don't think those would not fly in today's climate.
I mean, I won't give him too much shit because I understand, like, from his perspective, I don't want anybody fucking with my shit. Like, if I'm really proud of something that I did, whether it's a video game or a piece of art, and in order to get it to other audiences internationally, I have to tamper with it, I'd be miffed.
To the idea. I get that, but not to the extent of, oh no, we're going to have to change some relatively minor stuff that doesn't alter too much to make sure it fits legally in copyright in other countries. It's not like saying, oh, we want to release the game in country that you know is discriminatory against gay people or minorities or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's a complicated issue. I get that. Honestly, I think they would probably be better off remaking it, even at this point. Because, I mean,
Sure, give us the N64 Mother 3 that we never got.
Like, honestly, I know that I'm being the person in the 90s who said, like, who was the reason why Earthbound didn't catch on in the first place, but I just have never liked the way those games looked. And I feel like the art style they were attempting to go for would pull off a lot better in 3D than 2D. Because I get that the graphics in Mother and Earthbound are a conscious choice. I don't like the way they look. I feel like a lot of the game has a lot of really flat coloring that makes it look like somebody just used the fill tool in MS Paint a whole lot.
If you want to see for yourself whether or not it works better in 3D than in 2D, there is actually a game that kind of has a similar style, mixed in with some Tim Burton. It's Okage Shadow King. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, you
I've heard
brought
of
it
it,
up.
never
It's
seen
one of the... I've heard about it a couple of times. It's one of those things where if I was able to go retro game shopping at the moment...
Oh,
I might
it's available on
consider it.
PS4.
Okay.
It was one of the PS2 to PS4 games that they did while they were still doing that. They reached into an oddly obscure barrel for games while they were doing that. So yeah, you can just get it on PS4 whenever you want. It's a really good game.
Yeah, but I'm also just thinking, especially considering all the work Nintendo's done with interesting real-world textures in things like Link's Awakening and the Yoshi games, I feel like they could maybe make a claymation-looking Mother actually work, because that's what all of the key art for Mother,
Yeah.
and Mother 2 and Earthbound, and wow, I was going to say Mother 2 and Earthbound 3, goddamn. For Earthbound and Mother 3, they all have like this claymation kind of look. For a lot of the key art, and I think that if they were to actually make a Mother game look like that in 3D, it would. I think that would actually be an interesting visual design. I've just never liked the way the graphics
Get
look
good. What is it? Good Feel, who made the Yoshi games and Kirby,
yeah,
whatever
Epic
on
Yarn.
it. Epic Yarn, yeah, get them on it. They love playing with arts and crafts.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying
If I
it, I'm imagining Mother 3 redone in Link's Awakening style, and it's a pretty pleasant image.
That's what I was gonna say. Like,
Yeah.
maybe not so toyetic, because that's more plastic figures.
Not so shiny, yeah.
Yeah, but it can work.
Yeah.
'Cause I think, I agree. I think at this point you're better off just remaking the damn games instead of just trying to localize the original. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I think that if they did a Mother 1, 2, 3 remake package, it would sell like hotcakes. But I also think that that's also...
Okay, wait a minute, hold on. Because I'm gonna correct myself on this to my ass. I was gonna say, I know it's already been localized. I mean, trying to officially release is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Well, in any case, we'll always have that fan localization.
Yeah, which is, I mean, the next best thing.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of quality, it's as good as an official release. It's very
Well,
good.
the guy worked at Funimation for localizing, didn't he?
Yeah.
So...
Also worked on a couple of video
I
games,
mean,
too.
the days of shitty Final Fantasy VI translations where every line has to be rigidly literal because people just don't understand the differences between the way the two languages express themselves.
No, I know localization. Just add fuck everywhere.
Oh, you mean those edgy as hell Dragon Ball Z fan dubs, fan subs?
Just fan dubs in general back then.
The Tales of Fantasia fan translation for SNES, where she fucks like a tiger, I bet. Oh, God.
Man, you don't even need to reach to fan dubs for that. You just need to play the original English release of Yakuza 1. God damn.
I mean, John and I are old enough to remember very early fan subs online to like later DBZ stuff where there was a swear every other word.
There was a swear every other. Like the first few VHS tapes of Dragon Ball GT that I got from the anime store, there was fuck literally every other sentence. Like, what's happening?
Okay.
They must have been using the dialect, not dialect, I don't know the word for it, but
the rude way of saying things, yeah.
yeah, where like the only way to get across that they're being that rude in English is to swear, which actually was something that I wish that they did in Ace Attorney 6, where there's the prosecutor who's supposed to like hate defense attorneys, even though they all hate defense attorneys because it's the frickin' Ace Attorney universe, and so he calls you like filth or like stuff like that, and it's like, this is not, he calls you like putrid or something like that, and it's like, this is not working. Like, one of these games was rated M for mature. This is, if you want this to actually work in English, you need to have him swear at you.
You can pull a PG-13 and get 1 or 2 in there.
Yeah, I think you're giving it like 2 fucks. So.
Ace Attorney 5 was rated M, and that literally has Phoenix go, fudge, at one point.
Well, to be fair, Phoenix is a huge dork and he wouldn't swear.
Yeah, it's only rated M because there's one scene with a lot of blood in it.
The
That's
issue
only
with
reason.
profanity and translations of Japanese dialogue is that a lot of the times it's reserved for certain dialects that are generally considered less formal than others. So
Well, that's the way that character specifically talks. He has a dichotomy where he's really polite and calm to most people, but as soon as he starts talking to you, the player, he's an asshole. So I think it would work in the dichotomy's favor.
What
to have
I
him-
mean
to have
more
him
is
swear at
what
you
I mean more is
specifically.
dialects, specifically regional
It's,
dialects.
well, not really. It's more they don't have
Oh
swearing.
yes,
in
I
our
know,
sense
but I'm
in
talking
Japan,
about
so-
translation. When you see a game like Yakuza, well, not the first one, but the more recent ones, when you see them having a lot of swears, it's usually because like the person talking is speaking Osaka Ben or something, and they have a more uh, like streetwise country hick-ass accent way of translating that stuff. It's really weird, but it's basically one of the only ways in English that you can convey that these people have a very, very different manner of speaking from the rest of the cast, you know? So you generally won't see the other characters who speak the Tokyo dialect swearing as much as Majima does, because Majima talks full Osaka.
Only localization joke I liked from what Yakuza I've seen is from the Like a Dragon one where they run into a foreigner. So he's like, oh no, he's speaking English, and then the main character just turns to the camera and nods because they know it's an English localization. And that only exists in the Western version.
Oh, that reminds me of the Bobobo joke you talk about, where I would like to read this letter, but it's in
It's in
Japanese.
Japanese. No, I'm trying real hard to enter this contest, but it's in Japanese because they didn't bother to change the text on the piece of paper for the localization. So they just made a joke with it.
That's a common 4Kids thing, I think, where they will just wipe away all of the text
Yeah,
on anything, and
four
keep,
kids
like,
did that
the
all the
arrows.
time, so it was specifically a joke on that.
Yeah.
There was also a bit where in Bobobo where a character has like Japanese kanji on their forehead, but it means something stupid as the joke. But when they pan up to him the first time and you see it, his first line on the dialogue is, "Get these strange foreign characters off of my forehead."
We've kind of talked over it, but I liked this particular scene with Heidegger, where he's just completely walking all over his subordinates, which Scarlet doubles down on later on. But in any case, we beat that boss fight. Barely. Somehow.
It's a bit. Not a
The
fan of
only
crab, I take
HP
it.
that matters is the last one.
You're not wrong.
And it's
Oh
like,
boy, it's time to load.
sometimes this game can be pretty difficult. Can be kind of challenging, I'm not gonna lie. So, just don't be surprised if you see this happen more than once.
It's really weird to see this game look so challenging, just because I am so used to the original, which is fairly chill for the most
Well,
part.
it's one of those things where with turn-based, there's kind of almost always a way to break it into if you know the correct thing to do.
Yes, of course, but even on my first playthrough, Final Fantasy VII was not a hard game. It was pretty relaxed all the way through. So
Yeah.
Well, in any case, we will see you all again next part, where hopefully we will spend a little less time talking about Nintendo games and a little more time talking about Final Fantasy VII, since we're getting into some more original territory as far as the game's content goes. See you then.